What about him?
Um, at this
Like,
point, I feel like it's almost a universal agreement that they need to pack it up and be put down. How do you feel about that?
well, your camera's frozen up again, so I want to make sure you can hear me before I keep talking. Okay, we're good now.
Good.
Um, okay. Um, so since I'm on here, I'm just gonna kind of mention this right now. When it comes to Ubisoft, um, two things. One, I am actually starting up my own new podcast series that's going to be called "The History of Us," the real history behind series. And the first thing it's going to feature is Assassin's Creed. So Ubisoft being demolished will eventually take away all my work from that, so that will suck. But but not really. There's God
Just
only
like
knows.
30 games to work from.
Yeah, there's plenty of games to work from in that, so I'm not stressing about it. Um, Ubisoft packing it up.
It's a tough pill to
So
swallow.
yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow. So um, I wasn't expecting this conversation. That's for sure. I'm not really as well read on this as I should be, but to give my feelings on it, there's a couple things that I think they're talking about doing right now. Like supposedly Tencent and the people who are also like a larger majority shareholder in it, like the family that like founded and like partially owns it, are talking about taking it private. So that could happen. The reason why they're doing that is because, from what I understand, a lot of it has to do with Star Wars Outlaws underperforming, not bombing, but underperforming. So they want to like maybe take it private so they can not constantly have to worry about share prices dropping every time a game doesn't, makes only sells 10 million copies instead of 12 million copies or whatever. I could be, if I'm wrong about that, please correct me.
Well, that's correct.
Um, but the thing about Ubisoft, for me anyway, is that you of course had all like basically the whole video game Me Too thing that happened a few years ago, where it turned out like a lot of the people who were in charge of the Assassin's Creed and Far Cry games are a bunch of really creepy ass sexual predators who got let go. So seeing a company that kind of fosters that kind of environment, yeah, burn it all the fuck down and just maybe rebuild.
So,
Same thing with Activision Blizzard.
for sure.
Um,
And
now,
so
go on.
I just want to point out a couple things. So here's the problem with Ubisoft, okay? And
Are we talking about the games or the culture? Like
uh,
both?
the whole picture.
Okay.
There's a few points of where they
Hmm.
went wrong, okay?
Okay.
Now you touched on one of them, okay? The culture in there, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only did it happen, but after they released them, we're still getting reports that it didn't really change.
Yeah.
There's number one. Number two, the games, despite having such great IPs, the games quality have continued to dip and dip and
Hmm.
dip. Aside from Assassin's Creed, every other IP they have, the quality has gone down and down and down. They have went from unique IPs to the same game with a different skin.
Okay.
That's another issue, right?
Hmm.
Then you have, well, first of all, Tencent, as you mentioned.
Hmm.
Ever since they got involved, everything has been significantly worse in
Hmm.
quality. It's been all return over investment. Um, and then the shares, shareholders, they're not responding to user feedback. They're responding to shareholder feedback.
Hmm.
That's another problem. Then they do things where like the CEOs and stuff are so out of touch that instead of accepting faults that they have, they go out and blame the consumer.
Mm,
and make up, this narrative to lie to themselves and put the consumer in the crosshairs. The same people you want to buy your game. That's another
mhm,
problem they have, right? Okay, then you got like the crew. Okay, people played the crew for 10 years, but because they weren't buying the crew 2 and 3 because they were shit,
mhm,
they killed the crew one's live service. For what reason? Other than you don't care about the gamer and you
mhm,
don't want to make a better game to earn that gamer's reinvestment. You want to force them into buying your shit game.
mhm.
Because let's be real, unless you're on Xbox, there's no other racing game worth buying
Okay.
because it's the Crew or Forza at this point. Because Need for Speed, the fuck out of here. That shit ain't been that shit ain't been good since I think other than the one in 2015 or something like that, the reboot that was really
Okay.
good. But other than that, I think the last good one was in 2012 or some shit, and even then, some
It's probably
you
being
know,
generous.
yeah, exactly. So you either got Forza or the Crew, and they're getting worse and worse, and because nobody's buying your old one, you kill the first service.
Mhm,
Like there's just issues of being disingenuine and just detached from reality. You're not. They're not trying to earn the consumer.
mhm.
They're entitled to the consumer, in my opinion. What do you think?
Um, there is a very strange amount of contempt, I feel, that gaming companies have for their consumers, that's for sure. Now, where a lot of the focus tends to seems to like, end up, being spotlighted on is something like, say, oh my god, the fucking new Star Wars game has, a female protagonist, instead of, say, the fact that the game is buggy as was apparently buggy as shit at launch, or, the stealth options in it were kind of meh,
Right,
or the fact that we're having another Assassin's Creed game coming out and all the focus is on the Black Samurai, who did exist, by the way. He was a real
right,
fucking person, by the way.
right.
Instead of the fact that, oh my god, it's another Assassin's Creed game, it's probably just gonna be a mediocre version of Ghost of Tsushima at this point.
I think that,
It's a very weird sort of where a lot of like the media's attention gets highlighted.
yeah, and that's the thing.
So
Those people do exist. Okay, that
yeah,
is something that people are raging about, and
mhm,
and I think it's ridiculous. That's not
yeah,
the problem. But I think your point is that the media and the company itself are focusing on that to mask the real issue, which is
mhm,
actually an issue. So
mhm,
they're coming up with, oh,
yes,
it's not real issues because it's just people hating on females and blacks and blah
yeah,
blah blah.
yeah,
But no, there's real issues with your games.
yeah. No, it's I remember I was having a discussion. Again, I think we need to start closing this up because it's getting late on my end, and I had to be up at like 6:30 in the morning. So yeah. So I remember I was having a discussion about this where it was like kind of a very broad discussion involving video games, movies, like everything, and how a lot of studios are, video game or developers or movies are they'll have, like, a character, a main character who's, a minority or is like a woman or anything like that. And what they can do, studios now can do, is they can just every whenever somebody does have a criticism against said movie or show or whatever, um, is just sort of pivot the discussion towards the people who are, who are racist or just racist or sexist, rather than like actually addressing the issue.
Hmm.
I remember in one instance, like one of my during my tenure at Heroic Hollywood, um, they were mentioning She-Hulk, Okay. Somebody mentions like, yeah, she looks like garbage in these trailers. What's up with that? And the director who is taking the question just kind of redirects it as sort of like this weird kind of like anti-feminist sort of thing. And I just remember reading this and just thinking to myself, lady, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that your graphics look like they're from like the early PS3 era.
Right.
It just
Yeah,
so
and
that's
it's
so yeah, so like we have that. It's become a smoke screen. Sometimes it feels like it's all starting to become a smoke screen that
it's just
people
become more and more
yeah.
abundantly clear. And companies like Ubisoft
Hmm.
and Disney, who have just overly pushed it, that's really where the pushback is coming in. If Disney gets a lot of hate, and we'll hear, "Oh, it's because you don't like progressiveness." No, dude, it's because I
Yeah.
can see through your bullshit.
It's because She-Hulk looks like Shrek.
And the more you give me bullshit responses instead of addressing the fact that she looks like Shrek or the fact that your game fucking sucks,
Hmm.
the more discontent I get with you and the harsher I am with you on the next subject,
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
you
no,
can't
it's
just say, "You know what? You're right. We'll try better next time."
I remember there was some kind of very similar thing that happened with I think it was like the series finale for Secret Invasion. I don't remember what the context was, but like the director was like ranting or raving about something. And I remember just thinking to myself, for once, I would just like it if one of these people just straight up said, we just did the best with what we had, with the resources that we had at the time, and it just didn't click with anybody. You can say that. That's
You
okay.
can see that, and you'll have a lot of respect, and we'll just move on. We'll be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, what can you say to that?" But you
I
want
like
to go and spin your fucking bullshit ass tail. It's like dealing with kids. You tell your kids
it.
something, and they think that they're the biggest genius in the world with their lies, and it just makes you more and more irritated as you listen to them. This
uh,
is the problem we're having. Are you guys kids, or are you guys professionals, adult
uh,
professionals?
professional is a very generous term for video game publishers. I'll say that much. All
Well,
right. So yeah,
what's your total judgment and verdict though?
for
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, I think we'll have to wait and see how the new Assassin's Creed performs before we actually figure out if it's going to happen.
I
Um,
mean, it's the only good thing they got going left for them. So if it
yeah.
fucking sucks, it's the nail in the coffin.
If yeah, probably. So
All right.
if if yeah, that one flops, they're probably going to go private at some point.
Do you
Um,
think that'll help though?
um, at the end of the day, it's just going to be about whether or not they can make more money than the game's costs at the end of the day. It's not about sales numbers necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to help at all. It's not going to change anything. I view that as another smokescreen. Um, but as you said, we are approaching an hour and a half.
Mhm.
Um, this was a good first episode. We only had three topics because we really dove into them. Well, four if you count. Wait, what is it? Hold on.
I don't know anymore.
Journalism fatigue. That's four topics. Uh,
Three, two and a half, three and a half, I guess.
yeah, three and a half. Yeah. Anyways, the dynamic duo after over 5 years reunited. Good episode. We will definitely be back at it. Thanks for joining me, Trey.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're gonna sign off. Have a great night. And if you didn't like our episode, go fuck yourself.
Or just don't watch and be nice.
Stay classy, San Diego.